Hey guys, it's Andrea. I'm out here today in the garden and I'm going to cut my parsley so that I can dehydrate it because I don't have any parsley in the house from last year because there was a lot of caterpillars and I let it go too long, and so all of the spring bugs got to it, so I didn't get to dehydrate any last year. So I'm gonna get out here early this year and cut it and dehydrate it so that I can have some for in the house. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna cut all of this. Some of these have a seed coming up already, a stalk for their seed, so I'll leave that. And this one back here, this one already has a seed stalk and it's got flower buds on it, so I'll just leave that one and let it flower because they are really pretty when they flower. But I still have, I think 3 or 4 more parsley plants that I need to go cut. Later on today I'll get them in the dehydrator, but the smell of fresh parsley is just amazing. And if you have never tried to dehydrate your own herbs and spices, it is definitely something that I will always do because it is so delicious. The taste of the store-bought compared to fresh, it just doesn't even compare because it is so fresh. It keeps so much more of its flavor, and you grow it every year, so then your dried herb is fresh every year and it has a lot more flavor than what you can buy in the store. There's all the potatoes that we planted a couple of weeks ago. They're all starting to grow really nice. Even in this bed back here, those are potatoes. And then this bed, these are potatoes. And all of these are potatoes, and a couple right here. They're all doing really good. And it did get down to 32 degrees last night, but everything seems to have done fine. But I was actually going to harvest some lemon balm. It looks like the lemon balm might have got a little damage from the cold weather last night because it did frost. So let's go take a look at that. So here's the lemon balm, and it has a few brown leaves. That's from the frost last night. It was a really light frost, but this has got a pretty good bit of brown leaves. So I think I'm gonna leave it and see if I can't wait another week and get some more leaves on here before I harvest this to dehydrate this lemon balm. I'm at my other parsley plant and I'm gonna go ahead and chop this. This big stalk right here is what's gonna have the seed. So it's gonna flower, so I'll leave that. So I think that's good. And I've got right here my little seat. If you have a cinder block bed, this thing is great. You just stick it over your holes and you can sit on the edge of the bed and work in here, and it doesn't hurt like sitting on a cinder block. So that's why I got this, and I love it. I keep it in here and use it to sit on the edge and do weeds and all kinds of stuff like that. This is the sprouting broccoli, and this plant over here is finally putting off some broccoli florets. They're deep purple. This one over here looks like it's almost done. I've got some flowers over here. So this one is pretty much, I mean, I'm still gonna come clip all these little ones, but I clipped the bigger ones already. Since we were out here picking herbs to dehydrate, I wanted to show you some of the herbs and spices that I did last year. So I have a lot of thyme. This is thyme. And I dehydrated this last year. I did dehydrate oregano last year, but it wasn't enough to get me through the year, so I don't have any right now. This is from some paprika peppers that I grew, that I grinded it into a powder. These were, I'm not sure which kind of paprika these were. And then this is basil. This was just lettuce leaf basil. I did 2 different kinds of basil, so this is like a mix of basil, and it has Thai basil and lettuce leaf basil and lemon basil, I believe. So this one was a mix, and I almost used it all because it was absolutely delicious and it worked really good. I did grow celery last year, so I picked the celery leaves and then I dehydrated them and like put them through the blender and put them in a jar. And I use this like when I can broth or something. If I don't have any celery in the house, I'll just put some of these dehydrated celery leaves in there and it does the same thing. Or if I am making a soup or anything that calls for like celery seed or fresh celery or anything that's getting cooked, or to season something like chicken salad, I can use this. And so it's actually really nice to have. But I'm not growing celery this year, but as you can see, you only need a little bit of it when you use it because it is pretty strong. So this lasts for a while. This is also a paprika. I didn't put it into a powder. I just left it as pieces. This was Hungarian paprika pepper. And so I dehydrated that one. This one, as you can see, there is a lot. This plant, this is lemon drop pepper that I dehydrated and then just grinded it into a, not a fine powder, but a powder. And the lemon drop pepper produced so many peppers and I just could not keep up with them, so I dehydrated and made it into powder. But I don't use this as much as my favorite thing, which I'm about to show you. Lemon drop pepper, mine were pretty spicy and I didn't really get any lemon or floral flavor from them, so they weren't my favorite, but I did preserve them. This is my favorite to preserve, and I preserve it every year, and that's cayenne pepper. So I do red pepper flakes, which I'm almost out. This jar, I think I had 1.5 pints, so over the winter that's what we have used, almost this whole jar and another half. So I will be doing that again. And then I also grind it into powder. This is cayenne powder, and I just save jars from different things. Like this cayenne pepper I probably bought 3 or 4 years ago, and I saved the jar and I put my cayenne powder in here. And this was also full, I think, with another jar, and this is what we're down to. So we use a lot of cayenne pepper in seasoning stuff and cooking with and things like that, and it's my must-have pepper in the garden to be able to make powder and flakes. And so those are most of my seasonings that I've done. Of course, the one that I have to get done this year, which of course I'll do more basil, more peppers, things like that. But I really need oregano because I bought some oregano from the store and it just does not taste anything like oregano that I grew here that I dehydrated myself. And I found out that I don't really like the flavor of store-bought oregano, so I'm hoping I can grow a lot this year and dehydrate it. And I encourage you to do the same. Herbs usually don't take up that much space, and the only other, these are basically herbs and peppers, things like that. They don't take up that much space. And I guess peppers is kind of more involved in growing, but herbs usually are very simple and they do produce a lot and they taste so much better than store-bought. So another thing that I dehydrated that's not necessarily an herb is some elderberries. These are from last year. This whole thing was full, but I used some for some different things, and so this is what I have left. And I did can also with the fresh berries. I canned some elderberry syrup, so I think this year I'll just do dehydrated. And then last year I also did, these are calendula flowers. And I wanted to make some calendula infused oil, but I just haven't got to it yet. So these are what I grew last year. And like I said, I just saved containers to be able to put stuff in. I also just use canning jars, but this is actually a pizza sauce. This was a pizza sauce. And it's Atlas. And it's a nice jar, so I do save these. Those are my herbs that I preserve every year, and I do it every year, so I've got to get that parsley done. And I do want to do some lemon balm, but like I said, I'm going to wait for that one. And I think I am going to do some raspberry leaves this year for raspberry leaf tea. I encourage you to, even if it's just basil, basil is one of the simplest herbs to grow, even if it's just basil, to try it, because fresh basil is amazing and dehydrated basil is also great, especially if you mix different kinds of basils together. The depth of flavor is great. So it's worth a try, and if you had a dehydrator, of course. And some things like the basil, I actually just hang it upside down in a dark space in my house. And sometimes at the end of the season, when the plants are, it's about to get cold and I'm going to be taking the plants out, that's what I'll do. I'll just cut it off at the bottom, tie it with a little string, and then just hang it up and let it dry like that. So you don't even have to have a dehydrator to be able to dehydrate your own herbs. So, and it's a wonderful way to have fresh things in your kitchen that you grew, which is always exciting. The parsley is done, so I'm gonna get it out of here. I'm just gonna put it in my food processor and blend it up, and then I'll put it in a jar. So let's just get it out. And this stays fairly green when you dehydrate it. And it's ready to go. So let's get it in the food processor. Now that it's done in the food processor, we're just gonna get it in a jar and put a top on, and we'll be good to go. One full, almost full quart jar of dehydrated parsley. So I'll just put a top on it, and it still smells really fresh. And I will use this over the next year to flavor stuff. And this should be enough, 1 quart. I don't use as much parsley as I do of other herbs. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk to you next time.